What's up, Beta Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, we're doing a deep dive into community-led proposals being proposed by the MinSwap DAO. Now, I want to make a clear distinction here before we go any further between the DAO and the Labs team. Now, Labs is in charge of actually developing the core protocol, whereas the DAO manages the protocol once everything is actually live and implemented. So again, I want to draw a distinction between these three proposals, which are proposed by the DAO, and then an additional three proposals, which are put forth by the actual MinSwap Labs team. Now, as a part of today's video, I'm sitting down with Peter Buey, Chicken, as well as Smurfy to dive into these three community-led proposals, focusing on educating around Cardano and DeFi, as well as DEXs, as well as marketing campaigns. And then last but not least, different ways to incentivize activity, again, not only within the MinSwap DEX, but also within the broader Cardano ecosystem. As always, if you guys enjoy content like this and you find it to be valuable, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more, consider subscribing to Dapp Central. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me or any of the guests for today's interview, then make sure to leave a comment down below. That said, you guys enjoyed today's video. What's up, Beta Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, we're doing a deep dive into the roundup when it comes to proposals proposed by the MinSwap team. So without any further ado, I'm going to be joined by three different guests who are volunteers with the MinSwap community, and they're going to be spearheading a couple of proposals to bring number one, Cardano, but then number two, MinSwap to the masses. First and foremost, we've got a fellow content creator. That's going to be none other than Learn Cardano, which is hosted by Pete Buey. Pete, welcome aboard. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Fareed, for having us.
It's a pleasure. Always nice to collab with other fellow creators. Second, we've got Smurfy. Smurfy, welcome aboard. How you doing, man?
Lovely. Hey there, Fareed. Lovely to meet you and lovely to be here.
Thank you as well for your time. Last but definitely not least, we've got Chicken in the house who's representing Paula, who's supposed to be presenting one of the proposals today, but he's obviously not able to make it. So we do have Chicken stepping up. Thank you, Chicken, for stepping up to the plate. Welcome aboard.
Thank you for having us, Fareed. It's a pleasure being here.
Likewise, the honor is mine. Now, before we jump into the three separate proposals, which I'll be leaving links to down below for the viewers, if you guys want to find out more about them, make sure to go ahead and check those out. I want to give the guests here an opportunity to briefly introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk about the very first proposal. So in the order that you guys were brought up in, I'll go ahead and maybe just kick off introductions. So Pete, over to you.
So most people do know me from the YouTube channel. So I'm a content creator in the Cardano ecosystem. But in this case, I've been creating content for the MinSwap team since its launch, trying to educate people and take them through the DeFi journey on MinSwap. And I'll be doing a lot more educational content since MinSwap V2 is coming out. So it's been an awesome journey on the MinSwap side of things, and I absolutely love what the team have been doing. I've got a lot of MinSwap gear and merch. I'm not wearing it right now though, but it's absolutely awesome being part of the community and everything that MinSwap team are doing.
Thank you. And for anybody who isn't aware of Pete, I'll leave the link to his channel down below. Make sure to go ahead and check him out. Next, I believe we've got Smurfy. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I've been around in space for 4 years now, actually helping a couple NFT projects out, and last year NFT Marketplace themselves with their own marketing. And then I'm also actually a content creator over on X. So I write a lot of threads, write a lot of posts about how to educate, how to look at Web3 per se. And yeah, I just got involved with MinSwap relatively recently, actually, in terms of, how can we push Cardano as an ecosystem forward. So I guess that's an introduction to me.
Thank you. Short and sweet. I'm going to have to get in touch with you after this. I need some help when it comes to X and just growing my presence there, man. It's extremely hard for me. I don't know what it is, because I feel like I've got to put myself out there for YouTube, but for some reason, I'm just not as comfortable creating content on X. And I know that threads tend to get a lot of engagement. So I'm happy to hear your contributions. And again, would love to catch up with you after this.
For sure.
All right. Last but definitely not least, Chicken. welcome aboard. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me, Fareed. So unfortunately, I'm not a chicken. Sorry to say that, but I am a MinSwap DAO member. I've been passionately involved for almost a year and a half. I think I started like at the end of 2022. I've put out a lot of proposals. Some of them that people probably know as the token burn and the research for that, government structure proposals, catalyst improvement proposal. I'm pretty much on the emission committee. I'm part of the fee committee and a bunch of committees within MinSwap, and always trying to do the right thing for the Cardano ecosystem and to grow MinSwap and help elevate everyone that's involved with it and works with MinSwap. Yeah, I think that's about it. I wish Paulo could be here, like you said, but unfortunately he couldn't make it.
Perfect. I believe we've got the intros out of the way. Let's go ahead and dive into our very first set of proposals. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring Chicken as well as Smurfy down. You guys will be backstage. There is a private chat on the right-hand side of the screen. Let me know if you guys have any questions or want to be brought up. That said, again, thank you both, and we'll catch up here in just a moment. All right, Pete. So you are first on board. You've actually got an interesting proposal that resonates with me as a fellow content creator and educator here in the space as well. I'll let you sort of kick it off and introduce it. I'm going to get it pulled up here on the screen. But for anybody who isn't aware, do you mind highlighting the MinSwap Cardano DeFi onboarding and education program, which you are a lead of?
So this essentially is all about bringing in more users to not just Cardano, but MinSwap as well, and the broader DeFi ecosystem. There's a big education piece that's needed to educate the users how to use the DeFi, the risks involved, and the rewards that you can get out of it. There's still a lot of ADA holders out there that love staking. Cardano staking is by far the best out there. We all know that, and a lot of people are just comfortable with it. But there's so many more opportunities in the DeFi space, and that's what we're trying to bring people in on. And there's a lot of regulatory issues and legal issues as well. So educating people around that and bringing them on board is the key piece for this. But it's not just that. We're also trying to reach out to the further crypto space and other ecosystems, Solana, Ethereum, to show them really what Cardano DeFi has to offer. And MinSwap is definitely something that needs to be showcased. So we're trying to build out the brand new educational courses all around MinSwap V2 and everything that the team bring out there. So we're going to go full end-to-end, everything that is needed to be done to educate people how to use the platform effectively from all different perspectives. From that, we're going to have a big YouTube presence as well. So all the content will be published on YouTube to bring people in from different angles. And the really cool thing about this is that we're using work courses, and Sean and his team there, I know you've had them on your show previously as well, but we're going to have it all published there so that users can utilize their learn to earn platform and earn rewards through that process. So they'll learn stuff. They'll learn how to use Cardano DeFi effectively, all the safety and precautions and everything else that you need to know, but then also earn from that process. And that's what ties into the other proposals in terms of incentives and marketing as well. But that, as a crux, is what this proposal is all about. We really do hope that this will have a big impact and attract more users from different ecosystems. We've seen, and when we were doing the research behind this, that other platforms and programs very similar to this on other chains did do really well in bringing eyeballs and attention to the chain, to the platforms that are building on their particular blockchain. So this is going to be quite a big and impactful one for the Cardano ecosystem. And of course, this is all going to be open source. Once we have a format that works really well and we've refined it, we're going to publish it and let other DeFi platforms on Cardano start using that as well. So hopefully we see a lot of growth from this.
Yeah, I think in you as a creator as well probably experienced this. Half of the battle is just understanding how stuff works, right? So I take a look at my content and what seems sort of natural to me when I'm explaining it for other people, if they're brand new, a lot of times they have questions. And so we've seen other people which have basically done content or created content. For example, Kaizen Crypto, I think he had like his Cardano 101 courses, which basically broke down what is a ledger, what's a blockchain, all the way through to talking about, Cardano wallets, staking, governance, etc. And even for myself as a creator, I went back to watch that and I'm like, man, there's so many things that I learned by just going back and going through the basics. And so I think it's very important, especially from an onboarding perspective, to make sure that we have all of the material there in an easily digestible way. But then what I love about this particular proposal is the fact that you guys are working with other builders here who are focusing on learn to earn platforms, which is the Worked team. So again, I've had Sean here on the channel, as you mentioned, very, very strong developer. He's contributed a lot, and he's also gone cross-chain as well, right? So I believe the platform is launched on Solana, and then there's one other network as well. So I would love to maybe see how that branches out and how that impacts other ecosystems, and gets them to potentially look at Cardano if that content is hosted on the Worked platform. Now, that said, I got a couple of follow-up questions here. As a video creator, obviously, videos will be included within this particular proposal if funded. What other types of mediums do you guys plan on using as well? For example, do you guys plan on having quizzes, other sort of interactive content, outside of video? How do you plan on really using your reach?
Essentially, whatever we can use on the work courses platform. So yes, quizzes, like mini exams and things like that within the platform. Whatever we can use there will be absolutely fantastic. And also, as part of the marketing proposals, we're also going to plan on using other growth platforms such as Zealy to try and boost that as well. So I'm sure the guys will talk about that in a moment as well. But we're all going to integrate all those type of things in to try and ramp up more engagement and more usage of the Learn to Earn platform itself. So there's a lot of things in here. The education platform, and part of it is just the small tip of the iceberg.
Thank you. And for the viewers who are watching at home, again, links to the proposals left down below if you guys want to read them in their entirety. Now, I've got a quick follow-up here question. As a creator, the space moves so quickly. Things are deployed literally every single day. We try to stay on top of it. But when you create content, you hope that it's evergreen, right? So you want to make sure that you create content that you don't have to necessarily update it the next week, or that things don't go stale. That's definitely something that I've experienced as a creator, and I'm sure that you have as well, where you maybe put out some sort of tutorial, and then a week or two, the button that you were pointing at is no longer there, or the website's gotten a refresh and, it looks completely different to whoever's actually interacting with that website at the time that they're using it versus when you recorded the content. So any sort of plans to make sure that, number one, this content is evergreen, but then do you have some sort of plans to address the ever-changing nature, of the space, of the dApps, and of the look and feel of the things that you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, I plan to structure the course in a particular way where it's really easy to update. So if there's particular modules or parts that can be interchanged and swapped over, I can easily do all those bits and pieces and just swap them out. In terms of the V2 upgrade and stuff, not too much has changed in terms of the technical back-end side of things, like providing liquidity, zapping in, all those features. They're still part of the core functionality, and they still work the same way. Just little bits of the UI, etc., have changed, and upgrading and changing over thumbnails, images that are embedded in the tutorials is quite a quick and easy thing. But then we also have other aspects such as understanding impermanent loss and DeFi in general, what it means to actually provide liquidity, how you get rewards, how to farm and all that. A lot of those concepts are evergreen content and can be reused over and over. So I'm not too worried about things that will change overall, because a lot of the content will be educational, explaining how things in DeFi and how things in Cardano work in general.
Yeah, and I tend to think that text tends to do a lot better too over time. So if there's going to be any sort of text versions of the content, hopefully those are able to stand the test of time, as opposed to video, which obviously is a little bit harder to keep in terms of evergreen. Okay, next piece before we get to some of the details around the actual budget and how you guys plan on actually spending the funds. I want to quickly ask about how you plan on actually getting the work done, right? So you are a solo creator, so am I, and I know sort of the capacity that I'm able to handle. But thinking about this is a pretty big ask, right? MinSwap is a very, very intricate protocol. will there be any outsourcing? Who do you plan on having working with you? Will this just be a solo, endeavor, or are you planning on outsourcing and bringing on other people for different types of content?
We may bring in some other people to help write the content, help with the load, etc. But I have done this all before. So I've done a previous MinSwap V1 course end to end. It took me just over a month to piece together. I didn't do videos for all the bits and pieces, but I have video content that relates to it I've created before. So it's not too much of an ask to piece together and make this all happen. So I'm pretty confident that, with the time and resources that I have available to myself, I'll be able to cover the majority of it. But of course, there's other community members I know that would love to step in and help out with the content production and everything else around it.
Perfect. And thank you. One question that I didn't have on the agenda that I do want to pose is maybe just surrounding what success looks like to you. So with this endeavor, how do you see this playing out? And how do you say, hey, we've been funded and we've got the result that we want?
For me personally, I'd love to see TVL increase. So TVL on MinSwap increase, so more liquidity coming in, more wallets interacting with the DEX, more transactions, more volume, everything that you would expect from a healthy DeFi ecosystem to come into the MinSwap ecosystem. So that's one of the key metrics that will be measured and looked at, and is also part of the incentives program as well. So this all follows in on everything else that comes out from the other proposals that are being batched together in this particular program.
Perfect. And we're going to jump into those in just a moment. I've got two last questions. Do you mind giving us a brief summarization of the funds and how you plan on spending them in order to make this happen?
Just give me 1 second, Farid, and let me just double check these numbers. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So we've put in 100,000 ADA for this particular proposal, and we do have a breakdown of the milestones and how we're going to use it all. So a lot of it is put down to the technical writing, project management, and then video content creation around it. The milestones are a little bit broken apart, but if you look on the Catalyst proposal, you can see milestone 1, we've got technical writing, project management, roughly 23,000 for technical writing and 4,000, just over 4,000 for project management. Milestone 2, video content creation, just under 23,000 again, and then for just over 4,000 for the project management side. And then the last one, the milestone, the work courses, technical writing edition, adding it in there, just over 7,659. Then project management, again, just over 4,000 at 4,200.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a pretty high production budget there, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to crank out there if you guys are funded. Did you want to add anything else there?
The team is only taking a small proportion of these funds to actually get all this work done, because the actual budget that we need, the ADA, will all go into the incentives and rewards for the Learn to Earn platform. So the myself, Smurfy, Chicken, and Red Par, we're only taking a little bit of ADA off the top of these proposals, and the rest of it's all going to the rewards pool for all the users that are coming into the ecosystem.
So, Pete, as we get ready to close things down here with you, any closing thoughts or things that you want to share that we may not have gotten to as of yet?
Well, I just love the aspects of the community around MinSwap. MinSwap has always been there for the community, and the community really has come on board to help support and grow MinSwap. So I really hope that support continues. It's been powered and funded through a lot of Catalyst funding, and we really want to give back in that regard. So hopefully, with these proposals going through, more users will come into the ecosystem, and we can reward those users in doing so. And we should hopefully see a lot of growth out of this.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Pete here representing the MinSwap community. Again, links to his proposal down below. If you guys have any questions, make sure to go ahead and leave them there. And I'll make sure to go ahead and forward them over to Pete, and to make sure that we get those answered if you have any questions. That said, Pete, I'll go ahead and bring you down. I know you've got a busy family life. If you've got to run, that's completely okay. Again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we've got, let me just double check here. We've got a proposal dealing with marketing. So many of you guys know there's been internal conversations about marketing, just generally speaking, when it comes to Cardano, how we can better market ourselves and get more attention and bring more people in here. Now, this will be focusing on a very similar sort of strategy again, but more or less targeted towards MinSwap and then potentially growing this particular effort out into the broader ecosystem. So for this piece, I've got Smurfy joining me. Smurfy, welcome up. How are you?
Lovely to be back up. Farid, yeah,
All
how you doing,
right.
man? I'm good.
I am good. I am good. I'm warmed up now, so I'm ready to roll. Do you mind giving us just a little bit of background surrounding your proposal, which literally goes hand in hand, excuse me, with Pete's educational program? Do you mind just giving us an overview on what it's all about?
Sure. So, yeah, it's a marketing proposal at heart. And what we're trying to do through it is help, increase the word about Cardano outside in other chains and other ecosystems on Web3. And, focusing in on that user base that's already here in Web3. A lot of it is on Twitter, that's crypto Twitter. And we're going to go and, in effect, hire certain ambassadors, hire key leaders and key thought leaders in the space to help us in actually spreading the word about Cardano and Cardano's DeFi in particular, because that is the channel through which we see getting people into Cardano's ecosystem as a viable one. The NFT markets in general is just down, whereas the DeFi ecosystem across multiple chains is actually thriving. And so what we wish to do is to show everyone who isn't actually involved in Cardano's DeFi, come through to us and come engage with Cardano.
Perfect. Just a quick question to you here. In terms of marketing, where would you say we're sort of lacking the most?
The biggest problem I see with Cardano in particular amongst the existent Web3 user base is the inability to almost connect with them, right? The problem lies in, I don't know where it stems from in particular, but there's always a stigma about Cardano being a ghost chain or Cardano not having any users and stuff. And that's still stuck around, unfortunately so, right? And so even myself, when I have open discussions with multiple other people from other ecosystems, it's almost a hindrance for them to even consider coming to Cardano. So the problem from a marketing perspective is not so much showcasing, what Cardano has. That, in my opinion, is the next step. The first step is actually just connecting with the user base themselves. That's the biggest problem that we haven't yet properly overcome.
That's really, really good. I think again, Cardano's been like the outcast, but what I'm now realizing is as more people are starting to build on Bitcoin, I think that will sort of flow over and hopefully help out Cardano really again, helping people to number one, better understand, but then number two, better trust UTXO blockchains, right? So obviously ETH or Ethereum, with a huge user base, a huge group of developers over there, with Bitcoin now finally getting runes and ordinals. To me, at least, it seems like people are now finally opening up to better understanding how UTXO works. And since Cardano has really been doing it since its inception, I think it's only fair that people then finally begin to realize that a lot of these concepts that are now being built out for the first time on Bitcoin have already been done on Cardano for a couple months, if not years now. So really interesting perspective. So next, I want to discuss what success looks like to you here as well. And so if you're funded, if everything goes through and you get the ADA, at what point do you say, hey, we've done our job, and this is exactly what we're expecting?
Yeah, so the proposal is obviously very focused on the DeFi aspect of bringing users through. And so what we are going to be tracking and looking at is the active wallet counts throughout Cardano's DeFi. Now, that's a bit more broad brush, so it's not as specific and makes it harder to track. But another aspect that we are going to be interested in looking at is the hold account of certain tokens in general. And the reason I say this is because it ties in very well with the education program, but also through the marketing program itself. There is an aspect of making people engaged to actually show that they are capable of qualifying for that rewards pool. We are going to have them interact with the Cardano DeFi ecosystem itself, pick up certain tokens, etc., etc. Just, us to actually validate that they are engaging. So that's going to be another metric that we can turn to be like, okay, look, the holder count of token A, for example, has increased by 5,000 users. That shows an influx per se. So those are the two key metrics we're going to be looking at.
Thank you. As a quick follow-up to what you just mentioned there, on what platforms or how do you actually plan on marketing? I know Pete earlier mentioned Zeely, right, which is a platform for sort of growing communities, connecting to one another. From a marketing standpoint, how do you guys plan on going about that and where?
Yeah, sure. So I guess if we have to just look at this entire proposal from a top level perspective, what it is in effect a campaign to reward users who interact with our chain, right? We've seen this to be very popular on other ecosystems, whether it be ZK Sync or Layer Zero, whatever the case is. They phrase it airdrop campaigns, right? They go a lot more in depth with what all you have to do there. But here we're focusing very specifically on rewarding users who actually come to use the platform. We're going to be logging that through Zeely, but the actual platform where the marketing itself will be conducted is X or Twitter. And that's where we're going to be partnering with certain individuals to help share the news about this campaign going on, because that will be the funnel to not only attract the actual users themselves, but fellow creators, right? And that's the other sort of aspect of the goal, is we want the noise and the news about Cardano to reach out there more than it is already. So that's the top level perspective, is like we're creating that funnel through X into Zeely for people to be interacting and actually onboarding them into Cardano.
Perfect. A quick follow-up again. A lot of our discussion so far has been targeted or directly tied back to MinSwap. Now, the hope is that we can grow Cardano as a whole, right? So obviously, MinSwap has put in a lot of work. They obviously, have gathered their own community. But do you see this, providing any value or potentially being expanded to also highlight other builders within this project? And I'm not even necessarily speaking about DEXs, but just maybe even DeFi infrastructure. Could this grow to be something bigger than MinSwap?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind it will. For me, the view is that what we need first is people actually interacting with the chain. We've seen that very recently with a meme coin exploding here on Cardano itself. That's caused for a good influx of new users from other chains. What that does is, they get involved through a certain token or through a certain DEX, in this case, MinSwap. But as they're actually interacting on the chain, they want to do more, and that leads them to exploring other aspects of DeFi. So whether it be we funnel them in through MinSwap, but now they want to actually take out loans so that they can make leverage trades. They're going to go and look at something like Fluid tokens or Levy Finance, for example. Whether it be right, they're in our DeFi ecosystem, but they made a surplus of cash somehow, and they want to start spending on NFTs. They're in the ecosystem, so they're going to go pop by JPEG store and start being a customer of theirs as well. So it's a full benefit for the entire ecosystem at the end of the day when we get more users, because once there's more users, they're like the actual protocols, Dapps, DEXs, whatever it may be, are capable of having more business. So it's a net positive for everyone, really.
Solid, solid. I've got two remaining questions for you. The next one is surrounding the actual use of the funds. Do you mind giving us a brief overview of, how you guys plan on doing that and where parts of the budgets are going?
Sure. So a large part of the budget itself is actually dedicated towards funding the ambassadors side of things, whether it be through one-off sponsored content or actual long-term ambassadorships with certain creators. We obviously do favor the long-term aspect more because that's a far more sustainable option. It also helps have a constant inflow and constant noise about Cardano going out there. But there is a two-forked approach that we have broken down there quite in detail, actually, whether it be through one-off activations of certain ambassadors or the long-term relationship with certain ambassadors from other chains themselves. Now, in terms of where exactly those funds are going, I can't, name over here who's going to be partnering with us yet. Some of those discussions have begun, some haven't. But what we are looking forward to do, should I say rather, is through my connections as well as through MinSwap's connections within the Japanese community, we are going to be looking to actually partner with people who are interested in Cardano, who are genuinely, not just there for saying, hey, I want a paycheck for being an ambassador, and who are actually have a voice on their own platform. One of the toughest things with ambassadorships these days is finding good ones, because with the bull market, everyone's out here for quick money. But it's really a handful of people who have a platform where they get engagement. And by engagement, I mean people are actually commenting with their posts, asking them questions, following their lead, and actually, trusting them entirely. So that's more or less a breakdown from the cost perspective. And then a small portion of the remaining will be towards a rewards pool for the Zeely itself. That's almost necessary, and that will tie in very well with the incentives program. That will help almost, attract a larger user base from Zeely too. So Zeely and X are the main two places where the funds are being directed.
Thank you. Yeah, one piece that I definitely found interesting there was the portion about the Japanese content creators, right? Tapping into a brand new ecosystem. My content, Pete's content, and all the other sort of Cardano creators' content being targeted at the English-speaking community, right? So I'm wondering if they're going to be creating, content in their own traditional languages and exactly how that's going to be perceived. And I'm really interested to see how big that community is, because if I'm not mistaken, that's really where Cardano started, right? Was in the Asian continent, and then they sort of migrated or expanded into the United States following their initial ICO and token sale and stuff there. So pretty cool there. All right, Smurfy, I think this is my last question. Any sort of closing thoughts or things that you want to share that we may not have hit on just yet?
Yeah, I think one of the best things from an entire marketing perspective, and this is not so much a message to everyone out there, but just something to consider as we ourselves are individuals in the space, is it is more effective to actually get people in based on what they want out of the space than to get people in based on, what the space should be about. So one thing I see very prominent in Cardano's community is a lot of us stick to the first principles, right? We are here because we want a decentralized infrastructure to carry out our finances upon. We are here because governance matters. And I 100% agree. It's why I actually joined. But the one thing I've learned is talking with people who are not interested in your protocol is far more efficient when you talk in terms they understand. So that's why we are doing this incentives program. That's why, even as you just mentioned, the Japanese community per se, I don't think I explained that very well. I apologize. So as a quick, 1-minute addition, the reason we are also looking at the Japanese community is because a large part of the circulating ADA is not actually in the ecosystem itself, right? It's not engaging with the ecosystem, whether it be on the DeFi ecosystem or the NFT ecosystem. And we broke this down very well in the proposal. If you look at Ethereum, like 6% of its circulating supply is engaging with its DeFi. Solana's like 4% or something. And Cardano's down at 2%. And so, it got us to wondering, where is that ADA? And that's why we're also going into the Japanese community in the hopes that they are interested to actually, create content and be ambassadors for DeFi. So that's my closing thoughts in general is, when we do talk about Cardano, when we do talk about why we are here, it's far more efficient to talk about it in a manner that they understand than we're just putting out our opinions out there. So that's something I think for everyone to consider, and why this proposal is actually here in the first place.
Very, very well said. I think as people that live and breathe this space every single day, and I see you on Twitter, on X quite a bit, it's easy for us to get stuck in our own bubble and to think that everybody else sees everything the same way that we see it, right? So the point that you made about stepping back and explaining things in terms that other people understand, as opposed to how we see it, I think is going to be a key and pivotal piece there. You also briefly touched on the research report here when it comes to Cardano and just sort of where we stand in terms of rankings, activity, engagement, staking, market cap, stable coins, you name it here. It's basically sort of highlighted in this report. I want to give it a quick plug. If you guys want to find out more about this, there is a link on all 3 of the proposals. Again, links to that will be down below. But this is really interesting to sort of take a look at to see where Cardano sort of fits within the grand scheme of things, looking at BNB, Solana, Avalanche, and Near. So again, thank you guys for taking the time to do the research and to really make this quantifiable, to quantify it, right? So other people outside the ecosystem can quickly understand where the gap or the shortcoming is and where the proposal actually comes in. That said, Smurfy, that will do it here. I want to thank you as well for your time. I'm going to go ahead and drop you backstage. Feel free to hang out there. And then we're going to go ahead and bring up the last person here, which is Chicken. And then we'll go ahead and close out today's show. Again, thank you, Smurf. All right. Last but not least, we've got Chicken. Welcome up, man. How you doing? Thanks for being so patient with us.
Yes, of course, man. My pleasure.
All right, we're going to jump right on in. You sort of probably got the gist of how we're running today's interview. Do you mind giving us a brief overview or general overview of what you're aiming to do? Just as a recap, I had Pete on earlier to discuss education incentives. We just discussed with Smurfy some of the marketing incentives, but yours is just that, right? Just dealing with incentives and how you guys plan on making all of this work. So you, I think, are a critical piece here, and it's very important. Again, if you can break down what the goal is here, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, of course. Just to clarify, this proposal actually belongs to Redpaw. His name's Redpaw on Discord. His name's Paolo. Fortunately, he couldn't make it here, so I'm filling in for him today. But basically, the incentive program goes very well with the other 2 proposals. And I just wanted to clarify, all these proposals are from the MinSwap DAO. They're endorsed by Labs, which means Labs supports them, but they're actually not from Labs themselves. It's from the DAO. Now, the incentive program essentially aims to create a point system that aims to bring people from outside the ecosystem into the Cardano ecosystem, people that already use crypto, but maybe they're not familiar with Cardano specific DeFi applications and other applications. And it also definitely will encourage people within the Cardano ecosystem to go check out MinSwap v2. I will say that many people might wonder, okay, so MinSwap, but how does this affect the whole ecosystem? Well, actually, the answer is pretty simple. MinSwap is privileged enough to be a DEX within DeFi. And in any ecosystem, I feel like a DEX or a DEX aggregator is a very good starting point to explore the entire ecosystem. So naturally, the DAO thought it would be a very good idea for the DAO of a DEX to launch such a program. And then once we onboard through a proof of concept framework and show that, hey, this is actually successful, then the people that get onboarded would be more willing to go explore the ecosystem. And this framework can also be adopted by other protocols within the ecosystem as well, if it works. And with the incentive program, that's our goal, to make a proof of concept and show the results and hopefully have it be something bigger for the next fund or the upcoming iterations.
Yeah, really great overview. Now, I've seen incentives being done in multiple ways, right? Sometimes it's, hey, as quick and as simple as an airdrop, right? Where you're not asking anything for the end user. It's just, here's an airdrop, come play with our platform. There's also been incentives where you have to work for it, right? For example, I know MinSwap just launched their testnet, and they had a beta or an alpha, however you want to call it, where they're basically rewarding the community for putting a little bit of work, reporting bugs, etc. So there's, again, 2 sort of ways to go about this. Now, what's interesting is within this proposal, I've actually noticed 3 separate categories, right? So I would love if you could maybe just walk us through each of the categories and exactly how you guys plan on incentivizing activity through these means.
Yeah, of course. So we basically broke it down into 3 groups of incentives. One is trading volumes. Our goal is to basically encourage people to come onto the ecosystem and just start trading tokens. Like, you'll be able to go on the MinSwap v2 page and see like the latest tokens, whatever's trending. And we just encourage them to pick any of those tokens and just start trading. The specifics about which tokens to trade and all that stuff can be worked out. Those are like nuances. But the point is to get people engaging with the platform and putting in work based on the educational content that they consume from the previous discussion you had. And then the marketing is what will get them to go to the educational content and then come onto the DEX to actually do the trading. And liquidity provision, we basically aim to incentivize people to provide liquidity within MinSwap. We want to show them how liquidity pools work and why it is that we don't have market makers, for example, on an AMM and things like that. And in learning and actually playing around with it and being a part of it, we want to incentivize them for how much liquidity they provide and how long they choose to provide it, and make them aware of the risks and different ways they can mitigate it and things like that. And finally, the bridge is a very important part. We did a lot of research into this. Our goal is to basically incentivize people for using a bridge to come onto the chain. And we're planning on partnering with OneChain to do this. They've bridged their very famous decentralized bridge within Cardano. They've bridged many assets like USDT, USDC, and DAI. And the goal is basically to get them to track the metrics for people that are basically being onboarded through this program to the best of their ability. They will also double down and even market this initiative to other ecosystems that they're bridging from. So it's two birds kill one stone kind of deal. And they'll supply us with the metrics that we need to basically incentivize the users. And additionally, there's also a chance for them to supply their own incentives as well. And these incentives themselves, we're in discussion right now. I think it's mostly going to be ADA and the native tokens of MinSwap, for example, from the treasury. So that would be approved by the DAO, and then that would also be added to the incentive pool to onboard new users, and whatever incentives that OneChain would decide to include as well.
Solid. You've actually just beat me to my next question, which was, how do you guys actually plan on rewarding people? And as you just mentioned, potentially in ADA or any of the assets supported by the MinSwap team or the OneChain bridge. Okay. In terms of length, let's say this is funded, you guys have X amount allocated, how long will this incentivized campaign or these incentivized campaigns, right, run? And how do you guys maybe plan for more adoption than you guys expect? So for example, let's say you guys have 100,000 ADA set aside for, incentives, and you end up getting so many people that amount isn't enough. Instead of, watering down the rewards, what is maybe some of the plan there?
Yeah, of course. So there's many ways that we can approach this. This is a proof of concept at the end of the day. Initially, when we were thinking about the length, we thought it would to be more appropriate to basically build out the infrastructure first and get everything together and gauge the market sentiment at the time and see what's going on. Because, you can have a random coin like Nike come out of nowhere and you already have people onboarding. So we decided that optimally 3 months is a good time to get people to actually take action and gauge the metrics, but we're not fixed on that. It could even be 1 month, 2 months. It could be a little more than 3 months. Not completely sure yet. We wanted to allow ourselves the flexibility to be able to adapt that one factor. And as far as your second question in regards to the incentives, so we can break down the budget right after this, but majority of it is actually not going towards the incentives. It's actually going towards building out this point system and the framework and the work needed to basically get it into existence and present this proof of concept. Now, the incentives and the amount of onboarding that we do would essentially be the results of the proof of concept that we could take away and be like, look, guys, iteration 1 was successful. I think for iteration 2, we need to plan better, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's not to say that if we do run out of rewards, we would be watering them down per se. Ironically, once we onboard people within the ecosystem, there's many different ways they can actually go and earn yields. They can basically go to other protocols. They can go to Indigo. They can stake Indy. They can come to MinSwap. They can stake Min and earn a portion of all DEX revenue and even future LBE launch tokens too, potentially. And there's many ways within the ecosystem where they can engage. So our goal is mainly to incentivize, onboard, and allow them to go and earn more within the ecosystem than they could elsewhere. And if we do get overwhelming participation, then that's something we would definitely take into account. And when we go bring the funds from the DAO, or when OneChain brings their funds, we could talk and say, hey, we might need a little more funds. And if the DAO approves it, because at the end of the day, the DAO would have to approve that, then we can up the budget for that. But otherwise, there's always iteration 2. And if we decide to do this again, we can partner with other parts of DeFi like JPEG Store or Indigo or Butane, or and then we can kind of come together and put this together as a multi-protocol it wouldn't be a proof of concept anymore, but a multi-protocol initiative for the incentive program.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear. Number one, the flexibility, being open to growing it. Number two, obviously doing it the right way through the DAO. And I appreciate you clarifying the fact that these proposals are being put forth by the DAO, but just being supported by labs. I think there's a really good distinction that has to be made in that. And hopefully the viewers here, understand what that actually means. Now, you also mentioned, expanding this, potentially collaborating with other protocols. If this goes well, I think all you have to do is just show them some of the numbers and they'll be like, yeah, we're on board. We want some of this adoption as well, in exchange for some rewards to obviously incentivize people to come on board. All right. So Chicken, you've watched two other people go before you. You know what comes last, which is the budget breakdown. Do you mind highlighting exactly how the funds will be spent for this proposal?
Man, there's a saying, never ask a woman her age and never ask a man how much he makes. And you're putting me on the spot here, bro. But I got you. So yeah, of course, we're basically asking for 100,000 ADA. At the time of writing, it was 47 cents per ADA. So it's $47,000. And we broke it down into 3 milestones. And the milestones involve 3 different skill sets. I'm just looking at this document here just to make sure I don't mess it up. But yeah, we have technical writer, we have a lead engineer, and a project manager. So the first milestone would involve actually researching and planning and putting together the criteria for the incentives and how to incentivize and doing the research for the formulas that we can use and how we can, make sure we send those rewards out without watering them down and things of that nature. Second, we would have to talk to a lead engineer and a project manager, bring them this criteria and specifications and see how they can translate that into an architecture. And then the project manager would have to translate that and work with a team of engineers to basically make that happen. And then once the whole incentive program is developed, the final milestone would actually be the project launch. So that would require some budget as well. And as you can see, it's all broken down within the proposal. And now the remaining amount, about 33,000 ADA, would actually go to, I wouldn't even call this incentivizing. It would be nurturing this entire framework that we built. It's like building something and putting it into the world and having like a maintenance cost. And in this case, our maintenance cost makes sure that this thing that we built actually gets used and serves its purpose correctly. And that's what that budget is there for. And overall, the entire thing together is mainly focused on this point system. And it's basically altogether an incentive program. Hope that answered your question.
That did. I'm very surprised. Earlier, you mentioned that you weren't the one that actually authored this proposal, but the way that you're breaking it down, explaining it, makes me think that you are. So, again, not sure what's going on there with. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Paolo. But it sounds like you've got a really, really good hang for this proposal. And I would love to, again, follow up with you and the rest of the MinSwap team in the future if you guys are funded to see exactly how things have been developed. Okay. Any closing thoughts or remarks before I bring up the other two and we close out the interview?
Yeah, I just want to say that these 3 proposals are basically, they go very well hand in hand, and I hope that the viewers can actually make that connection right now. But even if all of them weren't to be funded and 1 or 2 of them were to be funded, I feel like it wouldn't really impact the other 2 because we can always take the budget out of the treasury, or we can kind of like, move numbers around. We could figure that out. That's not a big deal. But the point is that we have prepared in the off chance that only a few of these get approved. Now, basically, overall, I want to say that recently I've been seeing that there's a lot more adoption of Cardano. We've had a DDoS attack where we drained the hacker. We've had amazing improvements in like throughput, and we're gonna get SIP 113. We have Chang hard fork coming. There's so many things to be excited about on Cardano, but nevertheless, I think education, marketing, and incentivization are some things that we would always require no matter what. And to wrap it up, I just want to say, don't confuse these proposals with the MinSwap Labs proposals, because they have 3 separate proposals, which are not related to this at all. And I hope that you guys can check these out. And thanks for your time, Fareed. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Again, it's a pleasure. And again, I'll leave the links to all three of the DAO proposals down below for the community. And it might be good to also get in touch with the actual MinSwap team to see if I can get a couple of minutes from them to discuss some of their actual proposals. So I would love to maybe see if we can make that happen following this call. Let me go ahead and bring up the two guests from earlier. So again, we've got Smurfy. Welcome back up. And we've got Pete. Want to thank you all, gentlemen, for jumping on here to discuss everything MinSwap and your three proposals. Any maybe sort of parting thoughts from either of you or any of you here before we close out today's interview?
Just I love the Cardano community and all the support that everyone gets for anything that is for anyone that is building on the chain. So the community is always good to come in and support everyone that's building real good, legitimate things. So hopefully we get the community coming on board for this awesome onboarding process for Cardano DeFi.
Nicely put. I think for me, the community, again, just to echo what you said, has been huge and instrumental. It's, I think, one of the key things that sets Cardano apart, right? How quickly people are willing to help one another, especially when it comes to onboarding new people. So Chicken had mentioned the brand new meme coin that kicked off not too long ago, and I saw, a couple of people on X asking, "How do I onboard?" And people were very quick to give them resources, sort of handhold them, bringing them into wallets, into different aggregators and DEXs in order to really get up to speed. So I've got no doubts that the community will be in support of MinSwap in these three proposals. Again, MinSwap has been a huge, huge piece here for Cardano, providing one of the most valuable services here in their DEX service. I think that will do it here. Unless anybody else, anything else, we'll go ahead and wind things down. Again, huge thanks to Pete, Chicken, and Smurfy for jumping on here, discussing their proposals. And for you, the viewers watching at home, if you guys found any portion of today's video to be helpful, I would really appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. Not only does it help to get this content out to other members within Cardano, it also helps to reach the masses outside of our ecosystem. If you guys want more content like this, breaking down and highlighting all of the biggest builders here in Cardano, consider subscribing to Dapp Central. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me or any of the three gentlemen here as a part of today's interview about their proposals, please make sure to leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, we'll see you guys in the next video.